Is arguably the most well-reviewed insulation and exterior contractor in the metro area. Visit snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 31. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 27. And Wednesday, cloudy with a high around 32. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live from the palatial McNeil Broadcasting Compound here in Hopkins. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Tuesday. Good to be with you today. Matt and Patrick here today. And Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe we have another Patrick. Mr. Cooligan is going to join us from the Minnesota Reformer coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. Is that correct?
That is correct. They talked about what's going on at the Minnesota State Legislature with the Democrats being on the offensive and the Republican minorities kind of not really sure what to do with themselves right now.
Oh, I got some ideas what they can do with themselves. Anyway, I'll keep that private. Yeah, sure. A lot to get to today. I'm going to spend a good chunk here on the Republican game plan and really what really, I mean, it's sometimes the most obvious answer is sitting right in front of you. And I know that for some people that's hard to kind of accept, but that's the truth. There are sometimes the answer is sitting right in front of you, and it's an ugly answer and you might not like it, but it's the truth. And so I think that I got to talk about this because the Republicans have just shown exactly what their whole purpose is already in regards to this. So, by the way, I want to take some time, to start off with thanking Todd Kolod here. This is, of course, our week here. Todd Kolod sponsors AM 950. Todd used to live in Minneapolis, St. Paul. He now lives in Spain, where I imagine the temperature and the cuisine is a little bit more moderate. Oh, Spanish wines, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But he's out there enjoying these things, but he can't necessarily visit our sponsors. It's a bit of a commute, so he sponsors the radio station. If you'd like to do so, you can call 952-946-8885, 952-946-8885, and find out more information on how you can sponsor the station. If you've listened, we had Todd on the last year. He went and did a volunteer stint in Ukraine. He has been a big advocate of defending Ukraine, as is everyone here on my show for sure. Lifeline Ukraine offers mental health and suicide prevention services for the people of Ukraine. And once again, the horrors that these people are going through on a daily basis, whether they're troops on the front line or people who have been victimized by the Russians, is undeniable. If you can help out, make a donation. I'll put up a link a little bit later on to Lifeline Ukraine. Help out if you can, because once again, the people over there are having a heck of a time. Lifeline Ukraine, once again, offering mental health services and suicide prevention for the people of Ukraine. And I should mention as well, Minneapolis, St. Paul is the largest destination for Ukrainian refugees in the United States. Welcome. Thanks you. I'm glad you're here. By all means, welcome. Hopefully we can get you back home to a safe home here soon. But if you're here, if you are needing services as well, Lifeline Ukraine offers services for Ukrainians not in Ukraine too. So that is just something. Obviously, sometimes it's best to talk to the people that understand the situation best. So there you go. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. And thank you very much to Todd there. The story that broke earlier today, and this has been something that I want to call out the left a little bit here, if I can. Lynette Hardaway, Diamond of the pro-Trump commentators, Diamond and Silk, has died at 51. This is from the BBC. Really bad news for Republicans and, frankly, all Americans, said Trump on his Truth Social platform. Their own Twitter account later confirmed the news, saying the world has lost a true angel. The sister duo were known for, in U.S. politics, particularly their YouTube and television appearances, as fervently supporting Mr. Trump. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz was one of the several prominent Republicans to respond to Mr. Trump's announcement, tweeting, "Sad news." The cause of death was unknown, but in November there was a plea for prayers for Diamond on their Twitter account. The sisters grew up in North Carolina to Christian evangelist parents who Democrats and were Democrats till they switched to support Mr. Trump. They first came into national prominence during the Trump presidential campaign in 2016 and were soon favorites of his. Regular appearances on Fox News followed in a show of their own on the subscription channel Fox Nation, but Fox News cut time with that. They caused outrage by promoting coronavirus misinformation. Now, I want to make sure I'm on the right side of things here. It is very sad when anyone passes away. All my best to them and their family. That is consistency by me. I do not take any joy or relishment in this woman passing from this planet. It's very sad. I have lost family members, and more than likely, pretty much everyone out there has as well. And it's hard and it's sad, and all my best to them as they deal with that. Now, I want to be very clear here. I went and looked at a lot of major news outlets. Now, maybe they've released this information and I have not seen it, but from all the major news outlets, they are not listing her cause of death. And then once again, the BBC, her cause of death was unknown, but in November they were asking for prayers for Diamond on her Twitter account. Now, that was in November. It is January. That would mean a month and a half. I'm not saying that, I don't know what it is. Generally, my guess would be just on that, just in my own personal experience of losing friends, cancer. You get an aggressive form of cancer that you get the diagnosis and they're like, you got 2 months, 3 months, that's it. And I've had that happen. That would be my case. I don't know. But there clearly is a ugly side of the left right now who is determined she died of COVID, and since she was a COVID skeptic and put out coronavirus misinformation and said that she wasn't going to get inoculated or any of that stuff, that she got what she deserved. No, first of all, no. First of all, you don't know how she passed away. And the fact that you're taking such joy in the idea that she passed away because of COVID, come on, seriously, come on. It's very unfortunate that this is what's happened. It's very unfortunate that she has passed away. And I get it. There are some people, Matt, I had 3 years or 4 years of this woman screaming at me, I'm an idiot, all these things. Yeah, that's right. And now she's dead. Very sad. And she's gone. And you are still here. You do not have to go find the grave and dance on it. You do not. That is ugly to say the least. So I get it. She's passed away. We'll find out. Probably. My guess would be that it's probably something else, because there's a lot of other things that people die of. But even if it is COVID, I'm not going to take any joy here. They themselves have to deal with their own actions on this planet. And there is her sister is going to have to sit there if this is the case and have to deal with the consequences of downplaying the disease that ended up taking her sister. And that's a horrible thing too. But right now, we don't know why she died. Stop trying to dance on the grave. I just find out. We can find out the truth, and then it's like I said. Are you really? Is it this much joy on this? Which it was interesting, because this at the same time, so you kind of realize. I think we do get sometimes a little tone deaf to this stuff. I think we do. I think we get tone deaf to this because we so want a victory that we'll take it after the fact. And no. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Hey, this one's a new one. A Minneapolis man has been charged with dropping dumbbells, furniture, and other items from his 9th floor balcony onto vehicles passing by his downtown apartment building, causing thousands of dollars in damage. Sweet Lord. Dear God, you're lucky you didn't kill anyone. a 10-pound dumbbell coming through the roof of someone's car would kill them from 9 stories up. Michael B. Judy, 29, was charged in Hennepin County District Court with 2 felony counts of first-degree property damage for allegedly aiming an array of heavy objects at vehicles driving by the building in the 300 block of Washington Avenue. So, of South Washington Avenue. So that's going to be the block to the 3 blocks to the east of Hennepin, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh, is that one of the? That's not in the new building, isn't that? Is that in the RBC building? The new one? No, it's got to be one of the nuns next door to it. None of the items injured anyone, but multiple vehicles were damaged, the charges noted. It appears to officers that Judy was purposely targeting vehicles below as they passed on the street and would wait to throw the items until a vehicle was approaching. The criminal complaint read officers had serious safety concerns as the apartment is approximately 115 feet up, and a weighted object falling from that distance could lead to a great risk of great bodily harm or even death of a passing motorist, a bicyclist, or pedestrian. Judy was arrested on Thursday, released on Friday after posting a $10,000 bond. He's due in court on February 6th. In an interview Tuesday with the Star Tribune, Judy denied the allegations. I think it's ridiculous. I wasn't even at home at the time. He speculated it could have been a neighbor or it could have been somebody above me who carried out these acts. The incidents came, my guess is going to be, well, they're going to dust everything for fingerprints at this point. And if there's anything that connects it to you to there, if there's a hair on any of these items that connects you to it, it's going to be very hard to argue against it. But, you all deserve your day in court on that. The incidents came as Judy is facing eviction last week for failing to pay more than $11,000 in rent since he moved into his unit in July. Judy said he's since paid up and still lives there. God, it must be nice having $11,000 lying around. Christopher McShane said he stopped in his car at a red light on northbound 3rd Avenue at Washington early the evening of January 3rd when something slammed in the hood from about a foot from the windshield. I figured it was ice off the building. It was windy that day. A moment later, McShane continued, another item fell on the street just to the right of the car. He was visiting the Twin Cities for a few days with his wife from West Union, Iowa, and he said shards of what looked like ceramic on the street to his left, and there was cookie crumbs on the hood. He assumed it was a cookie jar. Was someone recording this for like a TikTok or for an Instagram thing, a Snapchat thing? He said to his wife, who was in the passenger seat, started rolling up the window and to see what was going on. I'm like, no, roll the window up. We don't want a cookie. McShane said he has a claim with his insurance company for the damaged hood. 5 calls were made to 911 between January 3rd and January 5th about dumbbell weights among various large objects being dropped from an apartment balcony. Dear Lord. On January 4th, shortly before midnight, an airborne shuttle vehicle with 7 passengers was hit on the roof with a 3-pound dumbbell. A city street surveillance camera zoomed in and captured someone on Judy's balcony about that time. There's cameras everywhere, dude. There's cameras everywhere. The driver reported being terrified, and a passenger state the weight hit right above where he was sitting, the complaint read. One caller to 911 reported nearly being hit by a table and chair. The surveillance video recorded a man purportedly on Judy to be Judy dropping a wine bottle, a cordless drill, a coffee maker, a coffee pot, and a milk jug. The man in the video had tattoos consistent with those depicted on Judy's photo of his driver's license, which, considering they don't do full body shots, good old-fashioned neck and face tattoos, because, nothing says respectability within society than a huge tattoo on the neck or face. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem with tattoos, but it's kind of one of those things where I tell my kids, hey, if you get a tattoo, hey, let's not go with the face, okay? You want it in the neck, the face. It doesn't, you're not going to be able to be that elementary school teacher or the distinguished executive that you hope you're going to be, or the winning legal argument in the court case. No, I don't want to go to a doctor's office and say, wow, doc, nice spider web tattoo on the old neck. Now tell me about my colon. No, yeah. No, you don't. Neck and face tattoos. They must have, the dude, once they figured out which apartment they needed to look at every time things came out, the thing, they clearly had you on, speed dial with the camera right up to your level there. Wow. So Judy's criminal history in Minnesota spans an entire life. Includes pleading guilty in 2012 to a drive-by shooting, property damage in connection to being one of 3 people accused of shooting BBs at dozens of car windows in a home in Rochester. He's also been convicted numerous times for domestic assault, as well as theft, harassment, and disorderly conduct. Is anyone else a little concerned about where okay, so he got money for bond, and then apparently he needed $11,000 to pay up his rent, and he very quickly got $11,000. Where did that money come from? If you all of a sudden couldn't pay things, but all of a sudden were able to pay off all your stuff. There's a lot of questions here. Sweet Lord, you're lucky. Okay, Judy, I'll give you're accused of this doing, everyone not guilty until they have their day in court. Okay. Whoever is doing this, you're freaking lucky you didn't murder somebody. You absolute freaking idiot. You absolute moron. I wonder what would happen if I threw something heavy out the window 9 stories down. You could kill someone. And I'm sorry you're too stupid to realize that, but bon appetit. Because they'll find, if it wasn't Judy, which it sounds like they have enough evidence right now to charge Judy, but if it wasn't Judy, they're going to find who it was. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Hey, the U.S. House did their first thing, and, well, it once again just tells us exactly who the Republicans are. I will break that down when we do return. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
The days are growing shorter and temperatures are getting colder. You know what that means. It's time to plan your unforgettable eagle viewing trip with the National Eagle Center. Spend a Saturday afternoon with the experts viewing bald and golden eagles in the heart of Eagle territory. Travel by coach bus to multiple eagle hotspots and receive engaging informational programming along the way. Trips last 4 hours and minimal walking is required. Learn more and register online today at nationaleaglecenter.org/eagle-viewing.
The new year is here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified, so it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res. And don't forget your air ducts to help alleviate allergies and asthma. And it's also important to enjoy less dust, lower energy bills, and your home staying cleaner longer. Zero Res is here to protect your biggest investment, your home. Why pay someone to clean your carpet if they are going to leave something behind that makes it dirty again super fast? Zero Res is the longest lasting and best clean. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 952-ZERO-RES, and don't forget to ask for the AM 950 special. This month, book and clean in January only and get 23% off all services for 2023. That's 952-ZERO-RES or ZeroResMinnesota.com. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. So, the House Republicans Monday night made good on a campaign promise by approving a bill that would zero out funding from the Inflation Reduction Act that is intended to dramatically increase IRS enforcement abilities. And the Democrat government says target wealthy tax cheats. Conservatives have cast the money another way over pushback on the Treasury Department. Our first bill will repeal funding for 87,000 new IRS agents because the government should be here to help you, not go after you, declared House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, which analyzes bills for lawmakers, reported an analysis on Monday the GOP's IRS measure known as the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act would raise the deficit by $114 billion. The Monday, the House passed the proposal on a party line vote, 221 to 210. And by the way, I want to repeat that little nugget there that you might have skipped on past. That this bill is going to dramatically increase the deficit by $114 billion. Now, I want to explain what they're really upset about, because there is sometimes a tendency to try to try to make something far more nuanced than it really is. Republicans are basically, their goal is one thing: to give as much of the taxpayer dollars to wealthy people, millionaires and billionaires, for the sole purpose of getting money for their reelection campaigns and or for the post-political career cush job that they will get either with a lobbying group or within the company. Trust me, that's it. That is everything these people are. There is nothing more nuanced to it. It's about screwing over the middle and lower class, including all you Republican idiots that keep voting for these morons. You keep voting for these people, and the reality is that the reality is that you're going to get nothing in return. They are basically going to screw you over. That is what their job is. Let me take you back in time. Let's go back in time and we'll run through this for you, okay? And we're going to take us back to 2008. 2008, of course, in the wake of the W. Bush administration trying to solve the crisis of people scared by terrorism in the wake of 9/11, opened up the funding laws and basically said, money. You can take as much money out of your house as you want. We're not going to question this. You can use mortgages as credit cards, that you can basically afford a house that you could never afford before, but there was always an ugly side to this. And everyone said when they started passing these bills, in 5 years, this is going to collapse in on us, and they didn't care. 2008 rolls around, and I've always shared the story, and I'll never forget this. It was in 2006. I was working for Blakeway Panoramas. I was a marketing manager over there, and we had this delivery driver shows up, and he says, "Are you looking to buy a house?" I'm like, "No, not really. I got a nice house in Hopkins." "Well, you need to upgrade. Let me go get the paperwork and show you the house I've got." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I like my house. I'm not leaving my house. I'm still in my same house. And he comes back to this house in Eden Prairie. And it was nice. 350, 375, maybe. And this is once again, probably, 2006. And he's like, "Yeah, this is it's $575,000. I'm like, $575,000. What in the world what's all here? $575,000. Well, I got the home mortgage I got to pay off, but then I've got this home equity loan that I got." And I said, "Well, what did you use the home equity loan on?" And he shows, "Well, take a look at that back porch." Now, the back porch that he was pointing to was basically a big square of wood off the back sliding glass door. No railings, no nothing, just a very bare bones. I'm not saying it didn't look nice. It was nice for a big square, but it didn't have any awning over it. It didn't have any of the special features that you come to get, especially not when you're talking about a massive home equity loan. This looked like a deck that cost maybe $5,000, maybe at that point, maybe. And first thing I said is, "Well, what else did you do?" He said, "Well, the deck, man. Look how good that deck is." I said, "How much did you get as a home equity loan?" "Well, that's irrelevant." I said, "Dude, that deck's not worth paying $200,000 more for a house." And of course, he got upset and stormed away. And to my knowledge, he lost his house because he was one of those dupes that went out there, bought a house that was way outside of their budget, couldn't really afford it, got one of those interest-only loans, immediately turned around, got one of those home equity loans that were dropping for $150,000 with no oversight or no interest. So basically was underwater with their house 2 days into buying the damn thing. And when the payment came due, they couldn't afford the house. Not only could they not afford the house when it was a regular mortgage, they couldn't afford the house with the expedited, far more expensive interest-only loans when it came in time to pay back the principal. And so what you saw was, and that was 2006, you could see that cab coming down the street. I'm sorry, it was pretty clear even into 2007 that something bad was going to come onto them the line, which finally did occur in 2008, in August of 2008, when all the banking industry and the mortgage industry all collapsed. That was it. All of a sudden, people were holding mortgages on properties that were, cost twice as much as they initially bought it, and they couldn't afford it in the first place. And the banks were the ones that went under, and this was their own doing. They did not do their due diligence to make sure the people that were buying the properties, getting the mortgages, getting the home equity loans, were actually doing them with legitimacy. And so they screwed themselves over, and they really did. There was a moment, and I don't know if you were around in 2008, but there was an unbelievable moment. I think it was in late November, where the W. Bush administration's Treasury Department came on out, and was it $2 billion? Said, we need the federal government to give us $2 billion, but you can't ask where the money goes, and you can never know what it was used for. And this was actually like their plea. Give us the money. Don't ask where. It's like a kidnapping. Put the money in a paper bag and leave it in this dumpster. That sort of thing. And of course, even Republicans are like, no, we're not going to just give you $2 billion and have no idea where it's going to go. What you found out after the fact was that $2 billion wasn't to save any banks or any mortgage companies or any insurance companies. It wasn't. That money was basically earmarked for Operation Save Christmas Bonus. The executives who had broken their own companies to the core to where they were gone were such entitled little crapsters that they felt as if they were still entitled to their Christmas bonuses. And when they sat there, these guys that had bankrolled the Republicans, had bankrolled W and bankrolled the Republicans, when they sat there and realized the company wasn't there, henceforth Christmas bonus was not coming, which they demanded, they went then and pulled on the leash of the Republicans they had bought and paid and said, you better give us our Christmas bonuses. And that was that money. They were going to just take that money and give it out to the wealthiest people, these executives, as Christmas bonus, and you just couldn't ask where the money was going. And basically we said no, which led to what happened in 2010. And I'll get to that here in a second. I'll go to the phone lines, 952-946-6205. Dynamo Dave has chimed in. Welcome and thanks for holding, Dynamo.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking my call from the smartest man with talk radio show in Minnesota. Hey, did you see there's two things in the news today? One is the Great Salt Lake is 37% smaller due to farming, grazing, and all this stuff. And
oh yeah, no,
they said red country.
I saw the story. I saw the story that said the Great Salt Lake might actually be dried up here within a year.
5 years.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah. And then they're looking for a huge federal outlay to fix it. I mean, that's about the extent of it. And then of course, if it becomes a dry lake, it has all these air pollutants that'll affect millions of people. But this is one of those things,
maybe they should turn off the tap. Maybe they should just turn off the tap there. That would be my suggestion, but okay.
Yeah, you're right. And then I don't know if you also, there was another thing in the news talking about gas ovens that we should convert over to electric because that it is creates air pollutant in one's home. And
I did see that. Dynamo, I did see that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your phone call. I did see that as well. And as a matter of fact, as a person who has a gas oven in my house, I was like, okay, I need to do a little more research on this. Good points. The Salt Lake one, I'm definitely going to bring up later this week. I'm going to do a little more personal research on the gas one, but thank you very much. I appreciate the phone call. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Let's take a break. Come on back. I'm going to finish up. So we got to the point. We know the Operation Save Christmas bonus did not go through. Executives didn't get their money, but then they turned to the Republicans to try to fix it in another way. I'll talk about that when I return. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hi, this is Paul Metzer, inviting you to listen to the Waller Power Radio Hour every weekend on AM 950. We are on at 6 p.m. on Saturday. We feature artists, musicians, raconteurs, private detectives, and more. 6 p.m. Saturday night on AM 950. Waller Power Radio Hour.
Hi, my name is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown. As the only minority-owned union printing company in Minnesota, I believe in giving back to the community and standing up for social justice. At Minuteman Press Uptown, we understand Black Lives Matter and know love is love. We're active in the Twin Cities fighting for racial, social, and economic justice. We believe our employees are vital to our success. That's why we pay above living wages with benefits.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Yes, we choose Minuteman Press Uptown because they share our progressive values. But what I've learned with my many years of working with Frank and his team is they are much more than just a print shop. They have helped us with creative marketing ideas and materials. The design team has helped us every step of the way in creating new material. They always come with fresh and unique ideas to help promote AM 950. Call Minuteman Press Uptown at 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 31. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 27. And Wednesday, cloudy with a high around 32. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Snow possible after 10 p.m. What the heck? Well, they're saying now it's just a delayed testing. Now all right. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Back to Maddie's story time. Where was I? Oh, that's right. Executives who had killed their own companies were demanding that they had their Christmas bonuses in 2008, and they tried to get the federal government under W. Bush to give them basically free money so they could have Operation Christmas Bonus saved. And when everyone said, okay, no, that's not a good idea, they were mad. And so what had happened in 2010, they had their opportunity. The Republicans went out and went for a gutting of the IRS. And they did this back then. Now, that when they got rid of a bunch of the staff and defunded a good portion of it, it wasn't to stop paying taxes. I got news for all you guys out there. They still need to pay taxes. I mean, if all of a sudden no one was paying taxes, we wouldn't have fire departments or police departments or military. We wouldn't have roads or airports or courts. or parks or anything. And the Republicans, they do want to have those things. What they want, really, most of all, though, their biggest earmark in any given budget is a bunch of cash to wealthy people to show the wealthy people, hey, guess what? We're still on your side. Here's just a bunch of cash. We'll have those idiot rubes that keep voting for us from the middle and lower class basically pay for this. And that's what they do. They go get a loan. This is not a tax cut. They're not cutting their taxes. They've already given them tons of taxes. But they, and the reality is too that already there was a very bias against wealthy people IRS in place. If you ever do taxes, and I remember when we started getting older and we had, some investments and we had kids and we had cars and houses and stuff like this, we actually paid for a tax professional, and it's been a fantastic investment. I tell you what, it's saved my mind dramatically to have someone else do my taxes for me, and they're quite good. And what they have said is that, within legal means, there are tons of ways you can actually, the more wealthy you get, the more ways you can write off money. And there are a lot of ways to do it. And there's very few people that make a lot of money in this country that don't pay some of the lowest taxes, period. And they bellyache and they moan because they just don't want to pay anything. And so they act like they're paying 5% while the rest of us pay 30% is somehow some grand injustice. This isn't fair. Shouldn't have to pay anything. You poor should pay for everything. That's what their mentality is. And the Republicans have gone along with it. And that's why they have this obscene tax code that basically the wealthier you are, the more you can write off. The other thing about it, which is interesting, is that the way that the IRS is structured, and this is very similar to what they did with gun regulations. When we talk about gun problems, the first thing that pro-gun guy talks about goes, Matt, there's tons of regulations on the books. If you just enforce those, then that will go a long way. And to a point, they're right. The problem that they don't want to talk about, though, is that the Republicans have gone on out and shut down the funding of of these enforcement agencies. So there's no money to enforce the laws, and there's no personnel to enforce the laws. So henceforth, the laws don't ever get enforced. And so and that's their catch-22. Sure, we pass a law, but then we basically will completely defund the enforcement of said law and the personnel. And guess what? Well, the IRS is not going to be to the extreme of their pro-NRA gun purging of the enforcement element of it. But what they do is they get it to where the only thing that the IRS can afford is people that can do basic taxes, people that audit taxes on the middle and lower class. So we already have a system, and especially after 2010, when the Republicans put their anti-IRS standard into place, what they created was a way to somewhat pay back the wealthy people that didn't get their Operation Save Christmas bonus by saying to them, you're going to have 10 years in your taxes where you can lie and do anything you want, because you know what? There's no one at the IRS who's going to be able to actually audit your tax returns. They would need a master's degree level accountant. They're not going to have enough. You will be able to do this and cheat. And there you go. You're welcome. And that was part of it. I would also say, in my personal belief, especially when it comes down to the banks, in the aftermath of the denial of Save Christmas bonus in 2008, one of the reasons why you see the banks so atrociously treat their own customers, whether it's home loans or auto loans or the way they violate the bank accounts, and they're basically stealing money from their own customers, is still a bit of a temper tantrum over the fact that they could not be able to, get Operation Save Christmas bonus in 2008, and we'll show you. Mm-hmm. I honestly do. I think it's these executives that get caught. They basically all of a sudden, when you start seeing executives that resign, know that there's about to become a scandal, and they're getting out of the way, and they got their money and they're off. And that is, I think this was a new mentality that the customers, their own customers themselves, were prime for them to take and violate. When we talk about what the Republicans are voting to do here, and in case once again you missed it last year, Democrats realized, well, we have a ton of people who are cheating the tax code, courtesy of the Republican Party. Now, once again, it's not middle and lower class people. No, there's plenty of enforcement to stop us from cheating on our taxes. No, it's wealthy people who basically have been told by the Republicans, we're not going to have any enforcement in place so that you guys can not pay your taxes and no one's going to catch you. And they have been stashing money left and right, primarily overseas. And even back in W's administration, there was this argument that, wait a second here, if we spend something like $30 million in investment in the IRS, we can reap like $3 billion worth of money that is owed in taxes that people are stashing in foreign accounts. And that's a pretty good return on investment, you know? And once again, we're not saying that we're stealing their money. No, they're stealing from us, you and me, the people that have to pay their taxes, because that's what you have to do. It's millionaires and billionaires who say, well, that's for the middle and lower class. I'm wealthy. I don't want to pay my taxes. I'm going to stash my money overseas. And yet they still live and breathe in the freedom and safety of the United States of America. They get all the benefits of this country without any of the costs. Well, that's not fair. You walk into a restaurant and you are said, well, you got to pay $10 for your burger, fries, and shake. And here comes a wealthy person that could easily afford it. And they say, well, yours is only $2. Then all of a sudden, wait a second, how is that even fair? Well, they're wealthy. But, they have the money to pay for the meal. I'm supposed to pay full price and they're not, but they're wealthy. That's what they get. See? It's that simple. It's that simple. The Republicans were furious that the Democrats passed that last year, that they went back and undid the nightmare, the chaos of with the IRS, that basically, and one of the reasons why Trump's taxes were never audited is because the IRS said we don't have anyone on staff that could actually audit them. So they said, okay, fine, we'll fix this problem. We'll hire a bunch of top-level accountants that can start reviewing the wealthiest tax returns and make sure that they are paying their fair share. And look at what the Republicans have done. With their first bill they pass. Stop it. You can't go out there and make them pay their fair share. And of course, Republicans are doing it like they will always do it. They're saying, this is going to hurt Ma and Pa. No, you know what's hurting Ma and Pa at the hardware store in your small little Nebraska town? You creating a tax code where Ma and Pa have to go pay for that massive corporation down the street's taxes because Ma and Pa, they're doing okay. They're making a living, but they're not wealthy enough. See, that guy, he's going to pay for a $100,000 table at the big fundraiser for my next campaign. You are going to write me a $100 check, and that's quaint and all this good stuff. And I'll sure use you in a campaign ad to act like you're the real person getting victimized here. But the reality is that you're not getting victimized. You're basically part of the system. You're going to have to pay your taxes so I can give that wealthy guy that can give you $100,000 for the private table at the event and the meet and greet, that he basically gets whatever he wants. That's the system. That is the system. So it is an obnoxious system. And there is no nuance. There is no intricacy to the Republicans. The Republicans' whole goal is to make sure the millionaires and billionaires, the people that fund their campaigns, are given back every dollar they pay in taxes, plus some at the expense of the middle and lower class. And they were so incensed by the IRS actually getting the tools to where they can enforce the tax law for all people, not just the middle and lower class, like they always have, because the Republicans want us to pay the taxes. No, they're incensed because millionaires and billionaires might actually have to pay their still discounted tax rate because the tax code is so biased towards them, still have to pay a 16% tax rate as opposed to our 30%, that's not going to be allowed, that those wealthy people shouldn't have to pay the 16%, that they should only have to pay nothing. And basically, here's another $100,000 in cash, and remember me when it comes election season. That's the entire thing. That is everything. They do not care about you. I can't say this enough. Republicans they don't care about you. They just don't. They sit out there and act as if they are some of the salt of the earth of these people, and we know what a working hard day is. No, they're all betrothed to the wealthiest of wealthy. And they love the fact that you Republican voters who are middle and lower class in rural America primarily are fools who will keep endorsing them. Just absolute fools. Because you're so quick to blame those metro area people or those minorities or those GLBTQ people or those immigrants. You're so quick to blame other people as opposed to realize the man that's got their foot on your throat is the guy that you're saying, please step on me harder. Fools? You're absolute fools. And so they've given up the ghost. Yeah, once again, this entire thing, I mean, they're not about reducing the budget deficit. This whole thing will raise the budget deficit by $114 billion. You know, this whole thing is a joke. It's about basically making sure wealthy people never pay their fair share of taxes at the expense of the middle and lower class. And you idiots go on out there and say, they're just like us. They don't even want you in the same room with them. Not at all. You guys have got to wake up to this. 952-946-6205. Let's get Gare Bear. Gary is in Minneapolis. Welcome on in, Gary.
Yeah, hi, Matt. You're talking about something I get into. These billionaires are the most privileged people probably in the whole world, and they get so much from this country they owe to pay back a heck of a lot more than we do because we're paying more than they are now. So, they shift the burden on the poor and the middle class back because in the 50s, working people didn't pay they didn't pay income tax. They're under that. There was no sales tax or all these local taxes weren't there, and they always give the rich it's the income tax because that's the way you tax the hell out of them, make it 90-70% again, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Take care. I'll tell you what, there is, and I know that Cooligan is going to talk about this more in the next hour when he joins us. But I do want to touch on the article from the Reformer here about CEO pay ratios in Minnesota, because if you want to just see how screwed up things have gotten, just look at these ratios. We'll talk about that when I do come back. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Do you have a car you no longer need but don't want to jump through all the hoops to sell yourself? Rudy Luther Toyota can help with their We Buy program. It's really simple. Go to rudyluthertoyota.com, click on the We Buy link, type in some basic information, and Rudy Luther will get you an instant and accurate offer. Then set an appointment, and after a quick verification of the vehicle, Rudy Luther will set up your payment with a check on the spot in most cases. We Buy. It's that simple. For more information or to sell your vehicle, head to rudyluthertoyota.com. That's rudyluthertoyota.com.
Do you believe in ghosts? Ever wondered if aliens from other planets visit the Earth? Have you ever thought about whether Bigfoot is real? My name is Greg Bakken, and on my new show, Ghostbox Radio, we'll have these conversations about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, or just the unusual, bringing together guests who are experts in these fields. Join me every Sunday at 4 p.m. for Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken on AM 950, even if you're a skeptic.
Hi, Alex of Better Futures Minnesota. Does your business or organization need janitorial services, lawn care, or snow services? Obtain a free, no-obligation estimate from Better Futures Minnesota when you mention that you heard about us on AM 950. Our supervised, hardworking, and affordable crews will handle your interior and exterior building and property maintenance needs while you help men in your community transform their lives and walk on a positive path to success. It's a win-win. To learn more, go to betterfuturesminnesota.com under Business Services.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Patrick Cooligan going to join us from Minnesota Reformer in the 4 o'clock hour. One of the stories they're going to touch on is the one I'm going to touch on as well here, because this goes back up what I was saying. I mean, conservative policy has basically screwed over the American worker for the last 40 years. And it's funny because there have been these brief glimmers of light this last 2 years with Joe Biden and Democratic House and the Senate. Barack Obama's first 2 years when he had a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, and they got the Affordable Care Act passed. The things that Clinton and Gore did in 93, 94 before the Republicans were given power. There have been these glimmers of hope where all these very positive things have happened, to which then immediately the Republicans go in there and do what they're doing right now, which is just try to gum up the works, try to basically get people to distrust government so that they can do what they can take. They're trying to get you to distrust government so that they can take all your money and give it to wealthy people and say, hey, you should have stopped me. And that's basically what their whole argument is. Nothing says this more than when you look at the CEO pay. And Reformer has the Minnesota's companies with the CEO pay here. And I'm not going to necessarily get into the specifics. I'm presuming that Patrick will talk about that. Cooligan will talk about that coming up in the 4 o'clock hour here. But I want to this last two paragraphs here. There has been very little growth in the compensation of the typical worker since the late 70s. It has grown just 18.1% over 43 years from 1978 to 2021, despite the corresponding growth of net economy-wide productivity at 61.8%, said EPI's Bivens and Kandra Wright. So basically, since 1970, the compensation that you have grown for the late 70s, the compensation for the average worker has only grown 18.1%, while the inflation in that time and the economy-wide productivity in that same window has been 61.8. So you've basically gotten 1/3 less than what you should have gotten thanks to conservative policies. By the way, over that same period, executive compensation ballooned by 1,460%. Now, let me ask you what you think that means to you. That the people that are working the day-to-day basis aren't even getting a third of what they're owed in regards to productivity since 1978. Not even a third of what they're owed. While in the same time, wealthy executives have reaped an expansion of their salaries, the compensation up 1,460%. You used to work for a company and say you made $50,000 and you were making some good money. The CEO of the company made more money, but made is like $750,000, $800,000. It was somewhat comparable. Today, you basically are getting less money. They probably fired all the people making $50,000 a year, hired a bunch of people at $35,000 a year. By the way, only hired a few of those people back, made them work twice as hard as they were before. Oh, and by the way, all the money they saved on all those employees went to the executive because they've got some golfing to do, boy. I can't do the boy. Sorry, that's not a club in my bag. No, but there you go. The Republicans, their whole goal is to take your money and give it to the wealthy people, because the wealthy people are what bankroll their campaigns, and the wealthy people are the ones that give them their job and their families their job, once they're done with their political careers. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Coming back, hour 2. That's up next.
Tune in for Philosophy Talk, the program that questions everything
except your intelligence.
Coming up, can streets discriminate?
Streets can't discriminate. They're open to everyone.
Sure, but they're much easier to access for some people than for others.
But we could easily change that if we pushed for it.
But the people who might push for it are living on the cushy streets.
We're going around in circles. Where's the map?
Can streets discriminate? Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 950.
Don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue. Scott Jamama's offers huge taste out of a little place. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis, this tiny hole in the wall offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. Don't forget to add the potato salad, spicy baked beans, twice-baked potatoes, and delicious desserts. Find their winter hours and full menu at scottjamamas.com.
Your need-to-know news headquarters, the Thom Hartmann Program, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The latest round of rain to drench California is expected to end today, with more rain expected later in the week. The numbers are staggering. Some parts of California have been getting a half inch of rain an hour. April Hugh lives in Orcutt, California.
It's just unbelievable, seeing the water come in and then it just gushing, just like a river through. I mean, it just completely, I'm still kind of in shock when we came back and saw the damage.
At least 14 people have died in California. Several dozen Ukrainian troops will be coming to the U.S. for Patriot missile training. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
It'll start as soon as next week at Oklahoma's Fort Sill.
The training will prepare approximately 90 to 100 Ukrainian soldiers.
Brigadier General Pat Ryder says it's a complex system, but the usual months-long training will be shortened in order to get the Ukrainians back home and back into the fight.
The longer those troops are off the line, they're not actually engaged in combat.
Ukraine's been desperate for the Patriot system to help protect against Russian missile strikes. The U.S. and Germany have each pledged to send a Patriot battery. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A court in Romania upheld a 30-day arrest of divisive social media personality and self-described misogynist Andrew Tate on charges of organized crime, human trafficking, and rape. His doctors say Constantine, the former and last king of Greece, has died at a private hospital in Athens. He was 82. He ascended to the throne as Constantine II at 23 in 1964. Look for long lines at the lottery machines.
I'm here to play my mega to be a billionaire.
Kirby Collins in Chicago is hoping his ticket wins him a $1.1 billion Mega Millions jackpot. The Dow finished up 186 points. This is AP News.
Dear online threats, after all the time we spent together, I'm finally ready to say goodbye. I have to admit, I was careless. At first, I thought maybe you weren't so bad. Then I believed I was too weak to fight you. I was wrong. I can do better. You know what? NordVPN is by my side now. I feel safer already.
Everyone can boost their digital confidence with NordVPN. All it takes is one simple click. NordVPN will block online trackers, hide your virtual location, and secure your devices from malware-infected downloads. It will also block access to malicious websites. So catch the special deal now at nordvpn.com. Enjoy more private and secure internet daily. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Hi, I'm Mary T. of the Mary T. family of companies. Our new Camellia Rose Assisted Living and Memory Care is a bold reimagining of what assisted living can be. Our emphasis is on creative meals, outdoor walking paths, and a spectrum of restorative therapies and activities. We are founded on a history of care. We are dedicated to enriching lives. Learn more about Camellia Rose Assisted Living and Memory Care by visiting marytinc.com.
This is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown. We've been working with political campaigns and nonprofits for years, helping with their printing and promotional needs. Year after year, campaigns and organizations come back to us because we deliver on time. Our team has over 100 years of experience, and we have 2 graphic designers on staff. We know running a political campaign is very dynamic with last-minute deadlines. At Minuteman Press, we are ready for the last-minute job and will make it happen. We print T-shirts, lawn signs, door hangers, bumper stickers, lit pieces, postcard mailers that we can assist with targeting and so much more. We are the only minority-owned union print shop in Minnesota, and we stand up for racial, social, and economic justice. Choose the company that matches your values for your political campaigns, printing, and promotional needs. We have a 5-star rating on Google with over 150 reviews. See what our customers are saying about us. Call Minuteman Press Uptown at 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. Minuteman Press Uptown. We print everything.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 31. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 27. And Wednesday, cloudy with a high around 32. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show on your Tuesday. Matt, Patrick, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Patrick, I missed this story when it came through. After I tell it, you'll have to tell me if you saw this one. An elephant that killed a woman in India returned for her funeral and trampled on her corpse, says local police. Dear Lord. Did you see that story before?
I did not, but that's wild.
Did you owe the elephant money? It was, you were sending a message. The 70-year-old woman, Maya Murmu, was attacked by the wild elephant as she walked to collect water in the district, Indian News reported. The Print reported this story. The elephant had strayed from the Dalma Wildlife Sanctuary, which lies about 10 miles away from the city. After the elephant attacked Murmu, she was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, she succumbed to her injuries, said Inspector Nayak of the Rasogavindpur police station and the Print. Later, as family members gathered to perform the funeral for Murmu, the wild tusker appeared once again. Okay, I don't know if it's a good idea to give it a nickname like it's a running back for a good college football team. It's the Tusker. Dear Lord. It approached the funeral pyre, grabbed the body. The elephant then trampled on her again, threw it away before fleeing. The funeral was completed a few hours later. Save your comments, folks. Duncan McNair, a lawyer and founder of the conservation charity Save the Asian Elephants, told Newsweek that this incident is a reminder that although gentle creatures, elephants can be deadly and dangerous. Can they be vindictive too? I mean, that elephant hated her. However, McNair said these incidents rarely happen without the elephant having been provoked in some way. These endangered elephants can be deadly dangerous, particularly when provoked or abused. So I don't know if that's the case. He said that Asian elephants are particularly subject to torture and stabbing for easy use in the tourism industry. Elephants are generally benign and passive. They don't rush out of nowhere and attack people that pose no threat to their safety or babies or anything like that. The incident is surprising because it shows no provocation of the elephant. McNair says the elephant coming back and handling the body could be down to extraordinary cognitive abilities. It's just possible that if the elephant has a proximity still at the time of the funeral, it's not clear. Well, okay, wait a second. Unless the funeral is like being conducted right outside the nature area, I'm presuming the elephant went back to the nature area. Then it comes back, and I mean, he came back into town just to go out and send a message. Human and elephant conflict on the rise across the world because of the loss of natural habitat. Maybe the real thing is maybe we should just let them have their habitat, because the reality is human v elephant ain't going to go well for us. All right. It's at that point, you're doomed. They're somehow they're going to win. You might be into MMA and stuff like that. I'm still going to put money on the elephant. A herd of 11 elephants strayed into a field near the village of Andhra Pradesh's Chittoor district during the night. Man was attacked, been guarding the field. The farmer died instantly after being trampled. Well, 11 elephants will do that to you. They're known as gentle giants. Elephants can attack humans when they feel vulnerable or their territory is being threatened. And at this point, I'm surprised that there isn't a daily story of elephants beating the living daylights out of us. All right, so yikes. Hey, give them their habitat, give them plenty of space, then we don't have this problem. All right, it seems like maybe we can get them to forget we used to when they used to kill them just so they could get their feet to make a trash can. Yee, ugly stuff. 952-946-6205. You are a sports person, Patrick, far more than I am. Carlos Correa, in case people missed it, the Twins. Okay, so there is, and I think a lot of this has to do with the longevity of the contracts that they were putting out there. Carlos Correa was with the Twins last year. He was initially offered a 12-year deal, 13-year deal with the Giants, which they came back and they said there was a health reason that they kind of got out of the deal. Then he went to the Mets for, I think it was a 12-year deal. They basically said there was a health issue there. Now he is back with the Twins. Correa is coming to the Twins for 6 years, which it's a 6-year, $200 million contract pending a physical after the deal broke down with the New York Mets. So, Patrick, you first of all, your thoughts. I mean, is I don't know what injury he has or what long-term prognosis is, but is this one of those cases where, in the next few years the guy's going to be good, or is it, and that just the long-term prospects for a guy with this injury are not that good? I don't know why the deal is that those other teams got away from him and we went after him.
And that's what's been kind of curious too, since there's been a lot of hush about that, a lot of things that these other teams haven't talked about. So the injury stems from actually 2014. So it will have been 9 years ago. He broke his leg when he was in the minor leagues and he had surgery. And for whatever reason, now that is starting to flare up. The teams are going, hey, why didn't you talk about this? Or, hey, we think this is going to be a really big deal here in the next several years. We don't want to risk giving you a 20,000 year contract because we think you might not be, worth it after, the first 6, 7, 8 years, or, I don't know what their internal discussions are with the Carlos Correa side of things, but this has been a red flag now with 2 different teams who have said, we don't like the long-term looks of this, and eventually Correa's side is the one who said, all right, well, to heck with you guys, we're going to go talk to this other team, and the Mets had the same issue and said, okay, to heck with you guys, we're going back to the Twins.
Well, and pardon me a second, I had to sneeze there. So, the thing which I think about it is that, I mean, when you're looking at a 12-year deal, that is a long-term deal. And there is no guarantee that the first game he has this year, he doesn't have a career-ending injury. It's a real risk you're going to take. How much do you think this is of the Giants and the Mets when they're just looking at these 12+ year long contracts? They're just not reasonable because, as you just pointed out, you're looking at an injury where right now I think Carlos Correa is a good investment, especially for the next 2 or 3 years for sure. But it becomes ludicrous when you're saying you're hoping the guy's going to stay healthy for 12 years. That just doesn't happen.
No, you're absolutely right. And, I mean, that's the risk for any of these long-term deals that have been getting handed out. I mean, even for guys who have not had injury issues in the past. And Correa, he hasn't been invincible. Like we said, the whole issue, this goes back to one incident that both the Giants and the Mets said, no, let's talk about this.
Because I think that's the interesting thing for Twins fans is that it's okay. Why are these other teams getting away from him? We're going to him. And so, well, there's a big difference between a 6-year contract and a 12-year contract. I mean, is that the fairest way to say it?
I think so for sure. Because Correa at the end of this contract will be 34, 35, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's kind of the time that you want to start thinking about getting out of a guy anyway. I mean, unless he's Justin Verlander, that dude's going to pitch till he's 50 and strike out 190 guys a year. But we're back on Correa. I think that's kind of where the injury is when is this going to become a serious issue?
Yeah. Well, tell me, you just said something you didn't say something, but you said something. When was the last time you saw a guy play till he was 40 years old that had serious injuries early in the career? It just doesn't happen. The guys that make it that long generally have escaped major injury issues and have stayed relatively healthy, whether that's just by luck or by training or whatever the case may be. And even in just, a minor league leg break can end up causing problems. Question for you. I'll give you the fantasy of a lot of Twins fans. What's the chance that Nelson Cruz rejoins the team? And then we have Cruz and Correa in the lineup with, I guess, some of the year Byron Buxton.
Right now, I don't think it's really that good of a possibility because I think the Twins actually have a fairly deep lineup depth-wise for 2023 at this point. I think they're not really that interested in adding a guy who's just going to be who's essentially just going to be a DH. I think they're kind of happy with the lineup that they're going to put out there on opening day next year. Minus, there might be some trades. Luis Arias has certainly been thrown around out there, not so much as he was a few weeks ago. Things have been pretty quiet on that front, but now that they have Correa back, that might incentivize the front office to say, hey, let's go get a pitcher. And so that might shuffle some more pieces.
But if the pitchers aren't there, you bring in Cruz and all of a sudden most of your games, you're going to score 6 runs. Yep. And that might be enough right there. I mean, that's the case. I mean, it's the Yankees' way of doing things. They offset bad pitching by basically having it to where they can score 10 runs on you in a heartbeat.
So. And we've got Cliff Schechter joining us on the phone right now. I'm just kidding.
No, Cliff would not want to talk about the Twins as much. It would be all Yankees all the time. No, I think that it's interesting. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of happy Twins fans. And I don't know, generally one of the things I've noticed is that one of the sports teams in this town is doing well. The Vikings are going into the playoffs. If they're only 3-point favorites, it's a tie game when you go to a neutral site against the New York Giants. We'll see what happens coming up here on Sunday. But there is now an urgency to do something so that you basically don't become a forgotten team. And I think that it does not surprise me that this week you got Carlos Correa now, hopefully signed once again, pending the physical, as well as also the potential. It would be nice. I'll tell you what, it would ticket sales would go up if all of a sudden you had Cruz and Correa in the lineup, and ticket sales would go up. So we'll have to see. 952-946-6205. And then it would free up some players for trade that you could possibly get a pitcher for too. So Patrick Cooligan is joining us. Of course, the Minnesota Reformer, if you're not familiar with this news outlet, they are fantastic. They cover a lot of great news that you will not see coverage of anywhere else, or will see coverage of 4 to 5 days after the Reformer does their stories on it. They are that good. They've got some stories on Steve Simon and what he wants to do in this upcoming legislative cycle, what he'd like to see get passed, as well as also more on that CEO pay story. Patrick Cooligan sat down with Brett right here on AM 950.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Brett Johnson with you here on a Tuesday afternoon. And it's time now for our usual Tuesday interview with Patrick Cooligan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com for the latest in Minnesota news and politics. As today, we are going to be talking about Democrats getting aggressive at the state legislature, a push to expand voting rights in Minnesota, as well as CEO pay. Patrick, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's start off talking about voting rights because Secretary of State Steve Simon has announced his legislative priorities this session, which include automatic voter registration, restoring the right to vote for felons, and protections for election workers. So let's talk a little bit more about automatic voter registration in Minnesota. How exactly would this work, and what exactly is Steve Simon proposing? Is this similar to what we've seen in other states, or I'm curious a little bit more about the details of this?
Yeah, so in 25 states and in DC, they have automatic voter registration, and basically what that means is if you have a contact with the government, for instance, when you get your driver's license renewed or you get your driver's license, that you would automatically be registered to vote. And it does, to me, it makes sense that you just eliminate this barrier and this really redundant two-step process whereby we got to register. And then this way it's taken care of, and all you got to do is vote. So that's a key priority for him. And with the DFL control of the legislature, I do expect passage, but of course you never know.
And let's talk about this aspect of what he's proposing as well. And this would be new penalties for people who intimidate election files. Talk a little bit more about what he's proposing here, because obviously, as we saw in the aftermath of the 2020 election, many election workers were certainly threatened by people who were saying the election should be overturned. So what exactly is Simon and DFLers proposing to try to, well, add some teeth to some of our laws to stop people from intimidating election workers?
Yeah, there's been really a rash of this activity since 2020, and so he's proposing civil and criminal penalties for people who intimidate an election official, or this is the language, intentionally interfere with the workings of an election. I mean, this is important not only because we want to protect election workers, but also because we're losing election workers and election administrators because many of them feel like it's just not worth it anymore to engage with this the guts of democracy when they feel threatened, and so the idea is to deter this kind of behavior in the future.
So DFLers, of course, control both houses at the state legislature, meaning they can pass these bills on their own without any Republican support. And I imagine Republicans probably really not too excited to pass any of these bills. So this likely will be one of the more partisan issues at the Capitol, correct? Unless are Republicans having any room, for instance, moving on, maybe even restoring felon voting, or does this look mainly like a DFL priority with all of these provisions that is being proposed by Simon?
Yeah, the felon voting rights, people who are formerly incarcerated but still under state supervision, probation, parole, that they still don't have their voting rights. There's been some bipartisan support for that in the past, but Republicans may have they may just put up opposition to everything under the argument that any changes to election law ought to be bipartisan. This is a very high bar that former Governor Mark Dayton set. The former DFL governor, he wanted bipartisan support before he agreed to any changes to democratic rules. But now I think and Tim Walz actually agreed to that as well in 2019. I think that it's perfectly reasonable for Democrats to say, well, after an attempted coup in 2020 and efforts around the country to restrict voting, we're actually not. We're going to make sure that democracy is strong and based on a stable foundation of free and fair elections, and taking steps to ensure that whether or not we have Republican support or not.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate, the DFL, of course, does not need Republican support since they have the governor's mansion and both houses of the state legislature. So it's a lot of kind of posturing and positioning from Republicans. But that kind of leads me into the next topic I'd like to talk to you about, which has to do with, well, kind of the Republicans being in disarray, being that they don't control any house of the legislature or statewide office, and the fact that Democrats have been surprisingly aggressive as they've been proposing bills early on in this session. As you wrote about in the newsletter this morning, typically the first few weeks of the legislative session are, well, very dry, or for lack of a better term of putting it, kind of boring. But this has not been the case, at least early on in this session. Talk about how.
Yeah, especially in a budget year like this one, in the odd years, the legislature, their main job is to come up with a 2-year budget. But right out of the gate, Democrats have been pushing hard on social issues, including the right to abortion, codifying that, putting that in state law. It's currently a court precedent, but they want it in state law. Making it so people who are undocumented can get a driver's license, which is, in the past has had some bipartisan support and has some law enforcement and business support. We mentioned the automatic registration, restoring voting rights. So they're pushing hard on these, and they're really quickly out of the gate on them. And I think they're generating a lot of media because they're all interesting issues and more interesting than, as you say, these dry budget presentations we often see in the odd years in January. And the other thing is that Democrats, they've been working on these policies for years. They controlled the House since 2019, and these have sort of been circulating in Democratic policy circles. So as soon as they won the election, they were ready to go on this stuff, and so they're out to a quick start. And Republicans, I think, they have a new leader on the Senate side, new leader on the House side. I think that they're probably a little shell-shocked at the moment. They don't really have there's no party apparatus. The state party is really just prone to infighting and always seems to be out of money, doesn't have a strong communicator. And so it's created this really kind of a fast-moving legislative environment, it feels like. And Republicans are still trying to get their feet under them, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and you wrote about that, and perhaps they could get their feet under them once we start talking about actual budget dollars, because usually that does play into the Republicans' wheelhouse, where they can say, look at these Democrats spending money out of control. The typical talking points. So that's probably where they're saving up their attacks, where, yeah, on some of these issues right now, there's not a lot of political capital be gained. So are you thinking that's kind of what could happen, too, once we start getting down into kind of the nitty-gritty of the budget details? That's when Republicans might start upping their attacks a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that they're going to say, that Democrats are spending this money on this and that and the other, and they ought to be putting money right back in their pocket because the money is there in the budget. I'm a little surprised that Republicans are not standing up there and saying, they're pushing on. They want to legalize marijuana and give driver's licenses to everybody and have unregulated abortion, but they're not helping you on your heating bill. That's the Republican Party that I expect, and not really heard that thus far. But like I said, they have new leadership. I think they're just they don't have they lost the statewide races last year again. So there's no natural kind of candidate to step forward and be the voice of the opposition at this point. And so politics abhors a vacuum.
Well, you can read more about what's happening at the state legislature. Make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com, minnesotareformer.com. One more story I wanted to talk about that you guys have been working on the Reformer has to do with CEO pay in Minnesota. As Christopher Ingram writes, that CEOs at Minnesota's biggest public companies, including Target, Best Buy, and 3M, continue to earn hundreds of times more than their employees. That's according to pay ratio data that was filed with the SEC earlier. So this really does kind of put things into perspective, Patrick, in terms of how much CEOs make. As I was looking through some of these numbers, where what we have Target CEO Brian Cornell making 775 times more than the average employee's annual pay. So these are some pretty shocking numbers. And what kind of stood out to you when you were looking through some of these numbers here in Minnesota?
Well, certainly the Cornell, the fact that he makes as much money in half a workday as his typical employee earns an entire year. I mean, I think that's just, it's so startling to see that. The other thing to notice, I think, is that as certain companies in Minnesota like U.S. Bank and 3M, where you're talking about higher skill, higher pay workers, you see that gap narrow. Target, which is relying on a lot of part-time workers and workers that are, just basic retail workers, the gap is the largest, and certainly makes me think they would benefit from a union there. But this is not a Minnesota phenomenon necessarily. It's certainly true across the Fortune 500s, and it's an older trend that goes back to the 1980s when CEO pay really started to balloon and then really took off in the 90s. And the worst part of this is that there's just no evidence that CEO pay leads to better performance. But it certainly leads to the widening gap between the wealthy and everybody else.
Well, it's not the first time you guys at the Reformer have done this type of analysis. You also looked at CEO pay of Minnesotans back in 2020. How do the numbers compare from 2022 to 2020? Have they gotten worse, stayed the same, or maybe gotten a little better for employees? I'm curious how they compared to when you guys did this a couple of years ago.
Not a whole lot different. And I think that 2022 data, there might be some changes because the stock market cratered a bit, and that's how a lot of executives get paid, and worker wages have gone up, thankfully. So we didn't see much change in the 3 years. We may see change next year, given current trends.
Yeah, make sure you check that out, that piece that Christopher Ingram wrote over at minnesotareformer.com. minnesotareformer.com. You'll also find some interesting information how Target was the only company that cracks the top 20 pay ratios nationwide. As again, Target CEO, the CEO of Target, if I can find his name, Brian Cornell, certainly having a good year, taking in that $19.8 million, which is 775 times the average employee's pay, which does crack the top 20 pay ratios nationwide. So maybe not such a good thing for Minnesota, but you can check that out over at minnesotareformer.com. Well, you have been speaking with Patrick Houlican, who is the editor-in-chief of Minnesota Reformer. Patrick, as always, thanks so much for coming back on the show today. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
All right, let's take a break and send things back over to Matt McNeil on AM 950.
This is Ross Stadheim, partner at MJSB Employment Justice. When you've been wronged at work or something just doesn't feel right, it's hard to know what to do next. Our firm can help. We pride ourselves on communication and listening to our brave clients to obtain their own brand of justice. When you hire MJSB Employment Justice, you're not just a number. You're a valued client who will be represented by one of our experienced and accomplished partners every step of the way. That's our promise.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today at mjsbjustice.com.
Hi, this is Kirk Duckwall with the Twin Cities Real Estate Show here on AM 950. Has our market changed? Yes. However, unlike what some people are saying, our Twin Cities market is still up by almost 8% year over year, and days on market are near an all-time low. If you're thinking of selling and would like not just a market analysis, but a total market overview, give me a call at 651-303-0019 or find me anytime at housegeeks.com.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
Oh, I am so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with compareyourmedicare.com and they made my Medicare decisions seem easy.
Huh, really? Well, what do they do?
Compareyourmedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Wow, that sounds a lot easier than going to a bunch of different Medicare seminars on my own.
Way easier. Just go to compareyourmedicare.com and request a free, no-obligation review. You can even schedule a virtual consultation from the comfort of your own home.
Hi, this is Jared with compareyourmedicare.com. We pride ourselves in serving our community's Medicare needs. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past age 65, we can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to compareyourmedicare.com to schedule a consultation.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hi, Matt McNeil here. For the last 2 years, AM 950 has been so grateful with all the members who've signed up to support the radio station. And as a thank you, we've sent out the AM 950 calendars. Well, for 2023, get ready for even more thank yous. The AM 950 2023 calendar is ready to go, featuring photos I took around Minnesota. Members who sign up with a one-time $50 membership or a recurring monthly membership of $10 will be helping to support the largest progressive radio station in the state. And as a thank you, we'll send you the 2023 calendar. Brand new this year is the AM 950 National Parks poster. The poster features photos I took of the national parks in various locations in Utah, Arizona, and Colorado this year. If you help support AM 950 by becoming a member with a one-time $99.50 donation or a recurring $25 per month donation, AM 950 will send the poster and the calendar as a thank you. Help AM 950 keep broadcasting the powerhouse progressive lineup you love and help keep Minnesota blue. Go to am950radio.com to sign up as a member, and thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Progressive change doesn't just happen. It takes dedication and a lot of hard work. 25 years ago, the Data Bank pioneered a new generation of software tools for progressive organizations here in Minnesota. Since then, thousands of organizations have used the Data Bank to create progressive change. Today, the Data Bank continues to help progressive organizations like AM 950. To have the Data Bank help your organization build capacity and create more change, text change to 612-540-0500 or go to thedatabank.com. The Data Bank, a quarter century of dedication and hard work for progressive organizations.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 31. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 27. And Wednesday, cloudy with a high around 32. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. By the way, I should mention it is not too late to go get one of those fantastic calendars. As a matter of fact, we'll have those all year long. But the way you can get one of them is pretty simple. Just support the radio station. AM 950, once again, went through the ringer like every other business did. And the listeners stood up and helped, and we're very grateful for that. And you became members. Renew your membership by going to am950radio.com, clicking on that tab. And at the first tier there, you can get yourself as a thank you gift for your membership a calendar. The 2023 AM 950 calendar, very hotty-totty, very nice. And you know that is yours with a lot of cool dates and stuff in there listed. Go and enjoy that. You can also join at our second level, which not only gets you the calendar, but also gets you the AM 950 National Parks poster. Now, I had the pure pleasure of this summer. We talked to my son, who is this year is a junior in college, saying, if we did one more family trip, would you go with us? And he said yes. So we did one family trip, and we've been wanting to go to the parks of the West for a while. Started out in Utah, Cedar Breaks, Bryce Canyon, Zion, gorgeous, unbelievably. Went down to Escalante Grand Staircase National Monument, up to Capitol Reef National Park, spectacular. Got down to went down to Antelope Canyon, Horseshoe Canyon, got down to the Grand Canyon, which was, yeah, you need to go to the Grand Canyon once in your life. That is unbelievable. And then in September, I got the opportunity to go out to Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, and that was beautiful being up in the mountains. It was just spectacular being up there. We took a lot of great pictures. I've got those on the poster. They are for you to enjoy. You can get that and the calendar as a thank you gift on the second tier level. So go to am950radio.com, am950radio.com, sign up, support the station, help keep progressive radio strong in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and as well, get yourself a calendar as a thank you gift, or the calendar and the poster as a thank you gift. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Greater Minnesota cities announced their priorities for this year's legislative session on Monday. More local government aid, changes to disability pensions, improving access to housing and childcare. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit because once again, there are two very different ways at approaching statewide funding. The way that the Democrats have been for it is that, a rising tide lifts all boats. So you help the statewide and you do this. Republicans, who are far more concerned about the image that they put out there, come on out with the keep your metro area noses out of our business. And even hilariously have suggested that they are sending all their tax dollars to support the welfare counties of Minneapolis, St. Paul, when it's quite literally the complete and total opposite. That by far, Minneapolis and St. Paul and the metro area counties basically bankroll most of the counties in outstate Minnesota. That if not for Minneapolis, St. Paul and their tax dollars, each one of these counties would take a massive budget cut. Which once again, I'm not going to let this go. When was it Jeremy Monson suggested, well, we're going to secede half the state over to South Dakota? I'm like, good luck with that. Oh, I'm sure they'll fund all your stuff. Sure they will. They don't even fund their own thing. Oh, God. Just, yeah, good luck. Because if you did that, not only would your counties immediately have a heck of a lot less money, and you'd have to have draconian cuts to transportation, agriculture, health services, elderly care. It'd be draconian cuts. Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the eastern side of the state, Duluth, Rochester, Minneapolis, St. Paul, we would be rolling in cash. We would have so much money. We'd be able to create a freaking utopia over here. So, once again, the political party that suggests one side gets money and the other side doesn't, that's the Republicans. The Democrats are the ones that want to help. But I do want to make sure we understand, you guys, a lot of you guys out in parts of the state just voted for Republicans who constantly badmouth the Twin Cities metropolitan area. And it's an addiction for you. It's an addiction. Those big metrocrats. Now, pardon me while I enjoyed the football game that only exists because the Vikings got taxpayer dollars from Minneapolis. Ooh, yeah, you guys don't even see it. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of your belly aching. I'm tired of your bad attitude. I'm tired of your victim culture that you guys got. I want to start hearing some thank yous. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. I appreciate you guys helping out the smaller communities because that's what I've always believed. And after 30 years of being told that we're big, bad, evil people because they're a metro area, reality is, yeah, you're starting to rub off on us. So this is on you. This really is on you. Now, changes to disability pensions, I'll get to that here in a second. Improving access to housing and childcare. I could not agree more with these issues, especially, I don't care if they're rural or metro. We have a real big problem in the state of Minnesota with affordable housing and childcare options. Now, childcare is a tough one because that, for the most part, is the private sector. I'm not against the idea of the state starting their own childcare service. That basically that there is there is such a need at this point. We do have a lot of money in St. Paul. You could actually start a Minnesota. I mean, we do almost like a municipal liquor store. You could start a municipal daycare facility that basically is not there for profit, is there for basically to get as many people in there as possible at to cover their costs. So they're paying a fair wage to the daycare worker and the manager and the people that are cleaning the place up. And you could do it for a lot cheaper, and you could as well probably lower the cost of daycare across the state and apply affordable option. And I there are just too many people out there that are like, well, we can't do that. That's the government sticking their nose in the private sector. Well, you could. It's just you're choosing not to, because and this is actually starting to get to a break point. We are starting to get to the point where it is. This is a discussion we should have, because the private sector is not building the daycares in rural Minnesota that they need out there. So maybe we have to start having this discussion. It's maybe we should have in every county in the state a Tim Walls daycare option that basically is a way for parents to have who need to go to work and an affordable option for daycare. Now, I guarantee a lot of people would fight it because there's a lot of people that like charging the amount that they can charge for daycare. But you need to have something there, because housing and childcare are big problems in rural Minnesota. And we talked with Democrat of the Day this last election cycle, how many outstate Republicans or Democrats we talked to that said there aren't any houses, there aren't any apartments, there isn't anything. And so you have people that are trying to fill jobs by living 25 miles away, which at this time of the year is a little difficult at times to get to the office. And without the broadband investment, which we're starting to get to, which is good, you don't have the ability to work from home in a lot of these areas. So those are two things which are, I definitely think that that we need to kind of address there. The disability pensions, disability claims are hampering city budgets. They said the cities want the state to provide more funds for the Public Safety Officer Benefit Program, which reimburses cities and counties for disability claims. Last year, 80% of the claims were not reimbursed by the state, as said Bradley Peterson, executive director of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Funding for disability claims is a relatively new issue related to surge in police officers making disability claims after the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. No, excuse me, after the 2020 when they killed George Floyd in the street and everyone turned on them because they murdered a man in the street. And then they did the Stallings thing. And then basically when they realized that they'd burned off every good bit of goodwill in the city of Minneapolis, they claimed all their disability. Yeah, that's how it went. It's like you can say Black Lives Matter protests after they murdered George Floyd in the streets. How about I say it like that? I don't know. I don't know about that. First of all, Minneapolis, St. Paul have to be paying off a lot of disability claims in the cities, because there's a lot of people that are claiming, oh, now that the people here are fed up with us murdering black people, we have to retire and I've got, issues. Yeah, all right, fine. But I'm not sure necessarily there's an endless pot of money from here for this outstate. I mean, it's if there's a situation where there's been a disability claim because of the malfeasance of someone in that local community, whether that's a workplace mishap or an abusive situation, bad management, I don't know. But I mean, if that's the case, I don't know why the city should necessarily be picking up a lot of that extra. I mean, that's just there. But then we get to government aid. The cities want to use the 2020 census data to update the formula that determines how much money each city gets under the Minnesota local government program. They called for 105 million more in LGA funding, citing rising costs due to inflation. The outstate cities also want public works bill to support city projects, including wastewater transportation and removing lead pipes. Oh. I'll tell you what, why don't you have your Republican representatives out there come and say, please? Seriously. The same people that are out there saying, keep your big metro area noses out of my district. That guy, yeah. That guy. Why don't you have that guy come to the Democratic leadership and say, hey, we need some more money. The inflation costs are here. And we also would like to, do a project where we get wastewater transportation, lead pipe removal. We want to do all this stuff. I mean, these are good things to do. Could you please help us out? And do it in public too. Not one of those Republican things where it's like, hey, I know I just badmouthed you guys horribly out there in public, but shh, I need you guys to help us in my district. I don't want anyone to know I'm asking for help now. No. We'll get the news media out there. It will be a hoot. We'll get the news media out there. You guys can come on out and you can say, hey, can you please help us out? By all means. We're liberals. We're compassionate people. We care about our fellow man. We're not like Republicans. Of course we'll help you out, but you need to be nice about it. This is, I can understand there's some people who are like, well, Matt, I don't know, really, this is kind of petty. No, it's not. 30 years of basically being told I'm an evil person just because I live in a place where there are bagel shops open 24/7 is kind of wearing off on me a little bit. And the goodwill and the good intention and the Christian standards I still have them. I'm just tired of you. And so you need help. Hey, just ask. Ask nicely. Pleases and thank yous. These are not tough things. These are easy things. Hey, I'll tell you what, we could write even a script for you. Hi, my name is Representative Blank. And really, if you look at what Republicans have delivered, blank is about the exact, perfect term for them. Anyway, I'm Representative Blank. Boy, oh boy, I sure do appreciate Minneapolis, St. Paul counties bankrolling my rural county. It's something I've been a jerk about, where I've come out and constantly said, keep your nose out of our business while we keep gobbling up your metro area tax dollars. And I should be apologizing. I should be sorry. My bad. Needless to say, thank you very much for all that you've given us. And is there any way in the world that you'd be willing to help us out a little bit and give us another 105 million more to deal with inflationary costs, as well as also setting up a public works bill that would help us with removing lead pipes and wastewater treatment plants that need to get upgraded? I would be very appreciative. Thank you very much. Signed, Representative Blank. You see, across the country right now, Northern California is just getting brutalized by this river of storms coming off the Pacific. I mean, God, it looks horrible. Just rainstorm after rainstorm after rainstorm. They can't deal with it. They've got landslide issues. The soil is soaked to the bone, and it's hitting particularly conservative parts of California worst of all. And funny, the same people who are out there saying, we're going to separate the conservative parts of California into the 51st state, are all of a sudden now like, why aren't the taxpayers of San Francisco and LA helping us? Well, maybe because you're jerks, actually. Sounds like there's a lot of people that are working there to try to help out. But you want your own state. Good luck paying for all that. You're going to lose San Francisco and LA. Dear Lord, man, you're going to have a heck of a lot less money to deal with. But I'm sure they'll just scramble up a check. The conservatives will, oh yeah, I'm going to go help your community. Right. Remember when they did that with Katrina? Oh God, the Republicans couldn't go out fast enough and basically not help the Democratic areas. So good luck with that. In Arizona, the new governor down there, the Democrat, Hobbs, does her speech, and half the Republicans walk on out. And sure, the Republican voters, you just stick it to her. Ooh, you should have gone up and punched her, or you should have given her a wet willy. Oh, you should have done that. I know that's who you guys are. But all of a sudden, God forbid, something bad happens in your community, and all of a sudden why aren't they helping us? I guess the moral of my story is simple. Stop being jackasses, will you guys? Stop being absolute tools, will ya? I get it. You like the country, and that's fine. I've lived in the country too. It's great. It's gorgeous, a little buggy at times. And, the roads, a little iffy in the winter. But fishing, hunting, quality of life, good food sometimes in some of those small towns, you can't beat it. I don't begrudge you because you live out there. That's perfectly fine. Stop being such jerks just because we live in a larger metro area. I don't mind helping you. What I do get bothered by is your constant berating and belittling just because it makes you feel superior, which is something in your own freaking mind there. That's something in your own noggin, okay? You got to go look in the mirror and figure out why you have such an inferiority complex. That's on you. For me, I want to help you guys. I just don't like helping jerks. So, pleases and thank yous. All right. What's the old thing? Mind your P's and Q's. There you go. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Yeah, I'm sure that this little rant is being, you see, the metro area guy doesn't want to help us. Oh, screw you. I do, but I can't help your pettiness and your victimization mentality. I can't help that. That's only something that you have to look in the mirror and figure out why you're such jerks. I can't. That's on you. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our live call-in talk show airing every Saturday from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights you need to know to live and age well. Each week, we talk with guests who provide answers to important questions regarding healthcare, elder care, end-of-life care, and self-care for caregivers, and help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 on AM 950 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
With the colder weather here, now is the time to get yourself a vehicle that can handle the winter roads at Rudy Luther Toyota. Rudy Luther Toyota has fantastic models that can tackle Minnesota at its blustery worst. The RAV4, Highlander, Land Cruiser, Sequoia, and the Corolla Cross, all of them give you the safe drive you're looking for. And the Sequoia, Highlander, and RAV4 all have a hybrid model. If my Toyota Sienna minivan tackles the snow like a pro, their entire lineup can handle the task with ease. Test drive a Toyota today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 169 and 394 in Golden Valley. Winter fun is waiting for everyone at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern is a great get-together location for family and friends. The food at the Park Tavern is outstanding with something for everyone. Pizza, wraps, sandwiches, burgers, salads, entrees, pasta, and wings. Take advantage of the best bowling lanes in Minnesota and enjoy the full menu while you bowl. No matter what your favorite sport is, the Park Tavern has all the big games on its many screens. And if you're looking for a private event, the Park Tavern offers private event packages for any size group. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, warm fun this winter awaits you at the Park Tavern.
The Mary T family of companies serves seniors and people with a wide range of disabilities. We provide home health care, hospice services, and accessible rental housing. This is Mary T, and we'd like you to join us. We're hiring direct care professionals, CNAs, nurses, and other support services. Our mission is to provide quality, personalized services to meet the unique and evolving needs of the people that we serve. Join a Minnesota family-owned company that was founded on a history of care. Apply today at marytinc.com/careers.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Lynette is joining us from Chaska. She's on hold. Thanks for holding, Lynette. Welcome on into the show.
Well, welcome back, Matt. I'm glad you're okay. I was worried about you after your accident.
I'm healing. I am healing. I still have a broken back, but this is the good thing about the good thing about what I do for a living is I sit and talk. So
yes. I wanted to add to your rant about Republicans and basically, please stop thinking you're better than everyone else. I mean, that's their basic attitude. And that's why they can't govern, because they're trying to live with some unrealistic, unreal idealism of life or some weird expectation. Life just happens and they're not ready.
Well, and if they're unhappy, and Lynette, if they're unhappy with their life, they can fix that. That's up to them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Lynette, thank you very much. I appreciate the phone call, and thank you for the kind words. No, there is nothing wrong. I can look at you and tell you the value of living in small towns. I've lived in small towns a good portion of my life. I have. Not for a few weeks, for years. And I have seen the value you get in small town life. Really, it is pretty amazing. But I also see the value you get from living in a large metro area too. There's a lot of cool things that happen in large metro areas. And so it's not an either or. You don't have to begrudge people just because they come from a more populated zip code. And especially when those people are more than willing to help you out in rural Minnesota, because we understand you don't have the population out there to fund what you need. So just, if you got issues, go talk to a counselor about it. By the way, this little gem, we might have to do a road trip, Patrick. Bonnaroo this year, not only they got Foo Fighters and Kendrick Lamar, Hippocampus, Young Gravy, and Corey Wong are all going to be there at the June 15th MegaFest in Tennessee. Yes, when you think of Young Gravy, think of Matt McNeil. There you go. I'm sorry, Young Gravy. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that to you. That's on me. My bad. Native Roots Radio, I Am Awake, 6 o'clock hour. Stick around for that. We are back tomorrow. Have a good one. Till then, see ya.
Hi, Matt McNeil here. For the last 2 years, AM 950 has been so grateful with all the members who've signed up to support the radio station.